Okay, good morning, class. So, so our big picture in focus for today is determine the different stages used in speech. So these are the words that needs to be remembered. Okay, first of all, let's understand the definition and natures of speech. Okay, a speech is what is spoken or expressed in conversation or written words. Our speech is defined as a formal talk given to an audience on a particular occasion or events. A speech is the delivery of a formal address or discourse to an audience. So, a speech is described as the power of expressing or communicating thoughts through speaking. And a speech is a powerful medium of addressing issues and problems in a peaceful manner. So, making it an effective way of communication. So, even those people who were, let's say, see Helen Keller, she has a problem with speaking. So, but still, makonsider na to siya na one of the best public speakers in the world. Pero in in her case, because ang iyang speech is unclear, kay kuan man siya buta bungol mangud siya no. So pag bungol wala kay siya proper model for speaking. Kay di man niya madungog tong mga kaistorya niya. So I don't know how how she managed to learn speaking, but she can speak to the just only to the point of being understood by somebody who is so familiar with her words and actions. So muna through the use of an interpreter, pag mag-speak siya in public na yung interpreter. So she sounded like ana siya mag-sound. So for a normal person, it's really difficult to determine what she is saying. But for the expert interpreter who is familiar with her sounds, i- she would sound very eloquently. So moto siya ang interpreter karon ang mo labay sa crowd. So this is still public speaking and the source of the message is still Helen Keller, not the interpreter. So that's and she was able to travel to 6 continents in more than 50 countries speaking in behalf of the blind and deaf mga foundation. She was even able to raise like $2 million in like 1960s, and that's a big amount of money. And because of that, she was rewarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. This is the highest civilian honor na a person can receive, na presidente mismo ang maghatag sa imuha ana na reward, na award, no. So a very distinguished award in spite of her not being able to see or hear. So what excuse do we have to be good speakers when we have complete faculty uh, of everything that we need for speaking? Okay, moving on. Okay, so in public speaking, so you notice here that this is formal. No, it's a formal talk. There's a power in it in expressing, communicating thoughts. So mo na mga common na mga words na mo gawas. Then in public speaking is presenting a discourse that is delivered live before an audience. It is driven by different purposes such as to educate, to entertain, or to influence an audience. That is why as a speaker, two most important things you have to determine before speaking is the type of audience that you have, and number two is the purpose, why the purpose of your talk. So if you're able to determine that, then that will determine the direction of your talk. Next is public speaking is the conveying of information before a large audience. So this information is purposeful and meant to inform, to influence, or entertain the said audience. So it's not just addressed to one person or to a group, a small group of people, but it's designed for a large number of people. Okay, so it's different from social media as well, using social media, even though it's addressed to different kinds of people as well. In social media, sometimes you don't have any control as to who would be listening to your talk. So That's why it's difficult. So whereas in public speaking, you have a clear audience as to who will be listening to you. Okay, number two, when we say writing stage, so this will be explained later. Writing stage, this is the first stage of public speaking. Here, there are two important goals, which are as follows: to leave a good impression and stress to the audience at least two or three important points, and to adopt some keys strategies. Okay, then we have, so that's why the things that I taught you about how to outline a talk or a speech, those were under the writing stage. So that's planning in a sense. Okay, number three, we have the preparatory stage. So this is the second stage of public speaking where a substantial part of self-confidence is anchored. So preparation is done to anticipate and to manage possible problems rather than being caught off guard. Okay, so this will be explained in detail later on. And finally, the delivery stage. This is the last stage of public speaking where a speaker communicates his discourse purposefully before an audience. So the purpose may be to educate, to entertain, or to influence the listeners. Okay, so here's the essential knowledge. Okay, in public speaking, Spencer defined public speaking as a presentation that is delivered live before an audience in terms of coverage. Public speeches encompasses varied topics. So these speeches are driven by different purposes, such as to educate, to entertain, or to influence an audience. In doing so, visual aids like electronic slideshow or are utilized to enhance the speech delivery, making it motivating to the audience. So contrastingly, public speaking is far from online speaking delivery because the former, so when you say former is the first one that was mentioned and the latter is the last one. Okay, because the former is done, which is ang former dia. Ang public speaking is done with a specific time and place, having an audience. At the same time, the latter, which is online speaking, is viewed and or listened at the viewer's convenience, like online YouTube videos. Also, online delivery usually involves um, slideshows or pre-recorded videos of a speaker, including recordings of a live public speaking presentation. So the said author accentuated further that public speaking is relevant in business, education, and the public arena. So since public speaking is delivered before a live listener or listeners, there are several factors that a speaker needs to consider. So that's according to Spencer. As Castigalor of 2020 said, there will always be a situation where we will be requested to deliver a speech, no matter who or where we are. So the following are useful tips as we refresh and or prepare for a speaking engagement. Okay, so like in class, for example, with recitations like this, that's why inaanad ta mo kuan extempo because sa extemporaneous, you only are given a few minutes to prepare your talk. Okay, so you have to be prepared and you know how to make use of those few minutes given to you for preparation because it is in preparation where we have our confidence. Okay, so the three stages in public speaking. So mo ni siya, writing, preparatory, and delivery stage. So when you say writing stage, duha lang imong important goals diri which is to leave a good impression and to stress to the audience at least two or three important points, to adopt some keys and strategies in a writing speech. So muna siya mga 10 strategies in writing speech according to Castigador. So number one, make a memorable speech. So the theme must be condensed in 15 to 20 word lines and build the speech around that line. So muna siyang inatawag na tugkuan thesis statement. Okay, so the theme, wait, it must be ensured then that the message is striking which will capture the interest of the audience. So additionally, figurative languages may be used as the ideal part of the talk, which is preferably near the end. Sige, one of these days we're gonna review the figures of speech para somehow magamit niyo siya as a very important tool in speaking and writing. Okay, so nata. Then we have number two, observe a structure in your speech. Okay, the structure of the speech must have a clear direction and a destination. So the one that will give a clear direction to your speech is ang thesis statement. So the most important point that you want to make. Imo to siya imong i-defend all throughout. No? So, um, pareha ganina, for example, di ba, ang topic is what do you love to do most? Tapos ang talk naabot na ka sa kuan sa about death or something. You describe different types of death. So somehow murag siya different thesis statement ang imong gina-defend. Murag wala nag-match ang point nimo. You have to make sure na your point is kuan relevant sa imuhang thesis statement nga gusto i-prove. No? So, for example, what do you love most? So, unsang you build your points around that. Like, well, I love most to travel. I love most to spend time with my family, or I love to have a good conversation with somebody. Kana lang tulo ka points. Mo na to imong tagaag isa-isa ka paragraph. Dili ka mawala sa topic. Di ba? So, murag, asa dito isingit ang death? Ana, gani. Even though ang point mo dito is how do you like to be remembered? Pero that's another thesis statement, no? How do you like to be remembered? It's, no, I want to be remembered by doing this, by doing that. No, lahi na po to siya. So what happened is makuan siya walay structure ang speech. So muna you have to build around that thesis statement para magkaroon kag direction. So okay, number two, the audience must know where the speech is heading and the rationale of that direction. Mo ito na sa first, 'di ba sa introduction, itudlo na ako sa inyo ha, na you have to start with a hook, something that will hook them into your talk, that will catch their attention. Then connect that hook to your topic, then introduce yourself and the topic in point. So dito nimo is kuan. So pag mag-introduce na ka after sa imong introduction, for example, you gave a quote, and after the quote, introduce yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Rodelito Sason. Then topic din mo. Today I will answer this question. How do you like to be remembered? And I will be discussing to you 3 points, which is I want to be remembered as somebody who is a good person. I want to be remembered ngani, or I want to be remembered like this. So if you stay with me for the next 20 minutes, you will also realize the importance of my point. Ana. So kabalo ang kato pa lang daan. Kabalo na ang audience what to expect from your talk. Kay gitagaan na nimo sila direction sa padulong. Wala siya. Pati ang mga objective sa talk. Unsay gusto nimo ma-attain. You want them to understand something, you want them to do something. I-mention na nimo daan sa introduction pa lang. Okay, so it will be wise to present a short outline of your speech at the beginning. So muna, tagaan mo sila nga, mauni atong i-discuss karong adlaw. Or muna ang akong i-discuss within this 2-minute talk. Okay. So in writing or revising the speech, ensure that the speech follows a structure. So make the speech simple, delete anything that is not clear or sometimes confusing. Then remove the parts which invalidate the main message. Ano siya? So, labi na pag writing an essay or writing a speech, Diha na mo pasok to mga pre-writing strategies. Sige lang maabot ta diha. We will discuss writing essays. Pre-writing stage, the writing the draft, after sa draft, revising, then editing. Sometimes manggod pag sugod pa lang daan, concern na kayo mo sa editing, sa inyong grammar, punctuation. Wala. Last na na siya, pinaka-last na na siya nga concern. Sige lang, that we will come to that. Okay, number three, exploit the opening of your speech. If the audience attention is caught right from the start, the rest of the talk will follow its natural course. So the opening part is crucial. So it is advised that the listeners engage during the beginning of the by participating or responding to the opening statement. So speakers are reminded to keep the opening short so the listeners won't lose their interest in listening. So few techniques on how to begin are the following. So we can use reliable statistics, a relevant quotation, humorous story, an intriguing question, or a striking statement. So these are what we call the hook, di ba? So according to the national survey done, 85% of people are ingani. Mo na yung sugod sa imong talk, di ba? So you will wonder, huh, really? Especially if the statistics are unexpected. Okay, so for example, ang kani tinuod din sa statistics. Don't you know the number one fear in the world is public speaking? Like 90% of the people are yan. So, 'di ba? So, public speaking ranks number 1, fear of death ranks number 4. So, it's really intriguing. Okay, so man siya. Number 4, begin with the right tone. So the speaker must be aware that some basic details about the presentation. So basic questions include who are the listeners, what are the reason for attending, and what do they want to hear. No, so that is why you have to determine your purpose. Is it to educate, to inform, to motivate, to entertain, or to challenge somebody? Then make sure that the expectations of the listeners are met. So next, review the main points if these suit the theme for the occasion. I remember sa accountancy mo ako nag-stay sa accountancy faculty. Then one day they were required to join a seminar in accounting. So after the next day, most of them commented na unsa man tong seminar wa man tay natun-an bag-o dito kabalo naman ta ato mo na atong inatulo sa una pa. And so meaning they ended up disappointed because they did not know that the topics that will be discussed are something that is not suited for them because they are already experts in the field of accountancy. They've been teaching that for how many years. And so you have to give them something new. So mo tong fault sa mga organizers sa mga seminars. Now, when you do a seminar, make sure that is something na maka-benefit sa ilaha. If you're telling them something that they've been an expert of, ma-bored na sila or even ma-disappoint because it's a waste of their time and energy. Okay lang karon kay mga online lang. Ganang mga live na mga seminars wherein you have to really dress up, you have to go there early and stay away from the traffic. So come on time and spend money and other stuff. All the inconveniences of joining a live seminar. So it must be disappointing. Okay, then um answer the following questions. Asa na to? Okay. Answer the following questions. Will my speech inspire and develop the best in my audience? If the setting is professional, make your speech upbeat and inspiring. If the listeners leave the venue with a smile and a greater sense of hope and purpose, the speech is successful. One of the speeches or talk that I cannot forget is when the UM faculty members were gathered around the auditorium and we had Pastor Arnel Tan who was invited to speak to us, and he talked about a very interesting topic. He started the sermon with this. Ask your seatmate, mukhang pera ka ba? Like that. So we all laughed and asked our seatmates doing that. And that was actually the title of the message. So somehow, all throughout the message, he was trying to prove na how we have the tendency to just do things for money and how money influences our lives, which include the funny thing there is he also shared some of his experiences, funny experiences about that. And one humorous anecdote he told us is this. Uh, yun niya, sa family namo, ang among mga katabang ginapa-eskwela namo. Siguro na ako na ako'y napag-graduate mga upat ka katabang. Can you imagine na napag-graduate og college? And napaisa ka katabang na ako na gusto mag-proceed og law. Yun siya. So wow, 'di ba? So sa isip ko, 'di ba, there's nothing wrong naman. Okay din naman 'yun, 'di ba? Tawagin kang attorney, no? Attorney, pengeng kape. 'Di ba? Basta bungkag may katawa. So ang point dito is attorney na lagi siya pero katabang lang yapon. Kaya na ba? So and that is some of the that is one of the talks that until now that was like 3 4 years ago, but until now I still remember almost like 20% of the message that he gave. Because it was funny and it was done it was presented in an upbeat manner. Sige lamig halakak, no, all throughout the message. Okay, so it doesn't even look like a sermon anymore. No, okay, number 5, be convinced of your message. Now, speakers must be the first persons to believe their material. So they are comparable to marketing experts who are encouraging the listeners to buy their products or points. So especially if you're selling something, you have to really believe in your product, or else resign, no, or look for something else to sell. So because if you don't believe in your products, then it would be difficult to convince people. For example, you're selling Toyota cars and you're using a Honda. It would be funny. No? You are selling Nike shoes and you're wearing uh, different brand, no, Adidas. So it's different. It's difficult. Okay, then emphasize important points. The keywords, phrases, and themes must be stressed. Also, the opportunities to tie up and reinforce the important points must be observed. So these important points must be repeated to leave a lasting impression. So that's the purpose of the clincher at the end of the paragraph. Na para i-restate ba nimo ang topic sentence para mas matimanaan nila. Because our brain works using the law of primacy and recency. Mas dali na to matimanaan tong unang gimension ug ang last nga gimension. Let's say for example, mag-mention ko magtawag kog mga pangalan nga dili familiar sa inyo ha. Let's say napulo ka names. Then after mentioning all those names, I'll ask you, kinsa nga mga names imong natiman-an? Ang tendency is you will remember the first one or two nga na-mention ug ang last kato number 9 ug 10. Muna siya ang law of primacy and recency. So what you say in the beginning and what you say in the last are very important to make sure that they remember it. Muna siya ang point niya. Muna na it helps if at the beginning i-present na nimo imong 3 points sa introduction, then pagka last i-recap nimo siya, i-summarize nimo. No? So mas mudulot sa mind, mas ma-retain sa audience ang imong points. Okay, number 7, connect the important points of your speech by using conjunctions. Mo ni kasagaran ako napansin sa inyong mga extempo. Walay mga transitional devices. Okay, transitional devices must be used to link one important point to the other. Okay, similarly, transitional words and phrases must be applied to connect ideas within the paragraphs or between paragraphs for ideas to flow smoothly. Ang tawag na coherence within the paragraph. Okay, so moreover, Reading Rockets 2020 believe that transition words and phrases help in sequencing ideas, showing the time, the presenting location, indicating ideas, and concluding the paragraphs. So muna, for example, manaka, the first reason why I did this is this. Another, pagka next paragraph nimo, another reason for doing this is this. And finally, the third reason is this. Okay, so, or pwede ka mo nag, uh, sa ba? To begin with, muna kabalo ka. And then or mga another point in question, muna ka. So muna yung mga transitional words. No? And to end it all, so muna pubutangan mo mga ingato. So you are preparing the audience for the transitional devices. That was between paragraphs. Pero within the paragraph, pwede gapon ka mo gamit ng mga transitional devices to connect the first one, the last one mentioned to the next one that you will be talking about. Okay, then Number 8, integrate some theatrics. So in this part, it is recommended that captivating or intriguing styles are inserted instead of driving all the points obviously. So it is emphasized, however, that the materials, the storyline, the lessons are simple. So upon completion of the theatrics and illustrations, the message must be explained. So mo siya mga gamit kag mga kuan diri. Let's say sa PowerPoint presentation, mga short videos ba diha or mga sound clips, even ang mga comic strips nga gamiton nimo or anything pandungag nga mga pictures sa imuhang PowerPoint presentation if you have would somehow be really interesting. And or pwede po siya if done poorly, it could distract the audience. I remember na nag-report ang iyang mga gipangbutang dito ng mga images kay mga animes, mga yana gani tapos doesn't really fit the topic or dili related sa topic. So somehow tapos na pa yung mga colors na mga dili contrasting ang mga colors, di mabasa like ang yellow ibutang nimo sa kuan sa red or orange na background something dili kay siya mabasa. No? So sakit sa mata. So that can even distract. So you have to make sure that uh, your theatrics or help or they aid mo yung tawag sila visual aids. Okay, so they aid in your talk. Okay, number 9, observe the KISS rule. KISS means keep it short and simple. So Gordon 2012 reminded that the sentences should be relatively short so that the speakers don't need to pause for breath in the middle. So likewise, a speaker must not exaggerate the speech material due to the listener's shorter attention span nowadays. So due to the multifaceted commitments of people, the long talk makes the audience uneasy and disinterested. Muna like sa mga graduation, 'di ba? Kanang mga graduation speakers, guest of honors, lecture na ganang mga 30 minutes, kapoy na kayo, dugayo mahumanan ni eh. Pero kung i-shorten na nila like mga 10 minutes, lapag na dito tanan, the audience would even remember most of those words. Okay, number 10, conclude your speech with a bang. So as highlighted, the conclusion is what the listeners will usually discuss when they leave the hall. So to achieve an effective conclusion, various ways are suggested sa Photoshop, visual aids, video clips, success stories, a relevant quotation, challenging question, or a call to action. But end with katong bago natong gitudlo katong food for thought, no? A question. Instead of saying thank you, you say food for thought. Then you end. So it leaves a lasting impression to the listeners. Okay, so um, thank you for staying with me and hope to see you again on the next series of lectures. Okay, stop.